In today's reading, we're going to be channeling or scrying some information specifically from the fairy realm that's meant to find you at this time. These are designated messages from the spirit of the Fae and directly channeled through the mushroom and fairy kingdom. If you felt drawn to this message, there's most likely something in it for you. But as always, use your intuition to guide you to the reading and the messages within that reading that do feel resonant for you. So as usual, we've got the three groups today. Group number 1 is the World card. Group number 2 is the High Priestess. And group number 3 is the Fool card. If you feel drawn to more than one, there may be multiple messages from the Fairy Kingdom that are looking to come through to you right now. So use your intuition to guide you. Timestamps are below, or you can use the chapter notes to jump ahead to your chosen reading or readings, and we'll see you there. All right, hi group number 1, welcome to your reading. You guys chose the World card here, and we're going to scry some messages or channel some messages from the Fairy Kingdom for you. So I'm just going to tune in and we'll see what comes through. Okay, so the first thing that I'm seeing is actually like a ring of fairies out in the orbit of the earth, almost like they're encircling the earth and dancing around it. And you did choose the World card, so I'm kind of now noticing the connection, and I'm actually hearing the word synchronicity between those two things. There's something here to this dance or to the messages or to images of the world or the globe that are synchronistic. So the fairies want you to pay attention to messages regarding the earth, the world, or globes in general. There's a certain level of understanding that they're wanting to bring through to you, group number 1, and it feels like a recognition of them through previous connections that you've had with them. This could be in past lives, or it could be through your ancestral lineage. I'm being shown a fairy crown. It could be connections through the crown chakra or through the upper dimensions as well, through claircognizance or through your psychic sensitivity. But I'm seeing a flower crown, like a fairy crown, around the top of the head. Interesting now that I'm kind of looking at the two images that I've been shown, and both of them are rings. The ring of fairies around the outside of the earth and a ring of flowers around the head. Now I'm being shown those two images sort of overlaid onto each other, and it's like the whole world exists in your mind. And it feels like there's something about the everything or the creation realms that exist within the mind or within the skull, or this like planetary mind. Perhaps this is even referring to collective consciousness, or how our biological being is connected physically to the earth realm and therefore the natural kingdom and the fairy realm, because those two are in some ways synonymous, the nature kingdom and the fairy kingdom, and yet they are slightly separated by almost like from third dimension to fifth dimension, if we looked at it that way. And there's this bridge between the fourth dimension, which would be the mind. So I feel like there's a consciousness shift here coming for you. And if you choose to connect with the fairies, or if you have a history of connecting with the fairies, they're going to help you to make this shift. Now, I'm getting the term quantum leap or quantum jump. This feels like something mechanical in the mind. I'm being shown neurons, but I was also being shown atoms and like quantum material. And I'm hearing the building blocks, and I'm being shown like little blocks that you would give to a kid that have numbers and letters on them in primary colors. It's like the basic, most fundamental building blocks of life, but those building blocks that we give to children also remind me of learning, like the beginning stages of learning. So you could be getting some, or actually I'm hearing calling on the fairy realm to do some kind of quantum learning And this is going to expand your consciousness, maybe globally or collectively, to a larger level, or to receive more information from this natural or fairy kingdom that's going to help you to expand or raise your consciousness level or frequency. And in this, it feels like you are growing exponentially. I'm seeing like a necessary growth cycle. The World card does represent the ending of a cycle, the completion of a cycle, coming to the end of something, and having matured so much, being able to look back at where you came from, or actually in reality realizing that you've gone all the way around back to where you started, but you're no longer the same person that you were when you began that journey. So you could be coming full circle, so to speak, in a way here with your awareness about something, or your level of consciousness and the learning that you've done to get to this point. Now I'm being shown the colors of the rainbow and something about a color spectrum and the frequencies of consciousness connected to that color spectrum. And I'm being shown sound and color, again, being like building blocks of that quantum realm. I'm hearing quantum material. And the fairies wanting to talk about quantum things with you, to me, is quite interesting. So I'm wondering, do you have an interest in science, or is this something that they are choosing to bring up to you because they want you to study it, or is it something that you like to study? I'm not sure which direction the influence is going, but I am feeling a pulling energy. It's kind of like there's a magnetism or there's a pull that the fairies are helping to initiate within you that is meant to expand you. I'm hearing the word graduation, and it's like it's helping you to graduate to a new level of awareness or consciousness through this learning cycle. I just heard the words prima materia, or prima materium. I'm not sure. It feels like the primal energy, or these building blocks. Okay, I'm being shown like a guard or a knight of the fairy realm. And he's kind of got like this wood bark armor on him. And he's carrying a spear with a mushroom on the end. And he looks quite serious, but at the same time, I do get a very lighthearted or sensitive energy from him, even though he does look like he means business. I'm hearing protector and guardian. So this could be a role that you are meant to fulfill here on Earth, like a guardian of nature, a guardian of consciousness bridges. Actually, I just heard a guardian of consciousness bridges. And something about that rainbow spectrum, or the frequency of the rainbow, it's kind of reminding me of like the rainbow bridge. And again, quantum leaping or jumping, moving through dimensions. And I'm hearing calculator, and I'm being shown like a device, like a calculator, a literal calculator. And it feels like there's some kind of a mathematical equation that is involved in this processing of information that keeps you in one state or the other. And I'm hearing the words subatomic. Yeah, so there's I don't know too much about science here. Spirit has led me to learn a little bit about quantum theory and string theory and quantum mechanics and things like that, but I am by no means an expert in this. So you'll have to forgive me for not having the necessary context to perhaps interpret these messages correctly, but I will do my best to endeavor to bring them through as directly as possible so that there's as little misinterpretation as possible. I'm being shown numbers on the calculator, and it says 1, 2, 3, 4. And then it looks like it's going ... as if it's meant to extend out, like there's more. It's meant to kind of reach off into infinity. The cycles of time, the cycles or this planetary spin, something about the numbers, the numerology, and the infinity of it all. Fractals. It's making me think of fractals. Infinitely small, infinitely large. Expansions of particular numbers. And now I'm seeing ferns, like the plants in nature, and how when they're born, they kind of unfurl, they start out in a spiral called fiddleheads, and then they start to expand into the full-blown fern. And I'm seeing like the offshoots of the leaves on either side of the sort of the stem of each individual sort of tendril. And I'm not sure if this is talking about the spiral nature of time again, or cycles, or if this is a reference to like a growth pattern that they're wanting to draw your attention to. Something about the leaves is really standing out to me though. So it feels like counting the leaves, or there's like a significant number of the leaves. Again, I'm not really sure what this means, but okay. Now I'm just being shown something else. So we're moving on quite quickly from that message. But I'm seeing another little sort of gnome-like figure, and he looks kind of like a garden gnome, but without the beard. He's clean shaven, or he has no facial hair, and he's just kind of got like a little mushroom hat, like a mushroom cap sitting on his head. And he's kind of reminding me of Dopey from the Seven Dwarfs, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And he's talking about mushroom magic, something about mushroom magic. And I was specifically guided to use the mushroom cards, and I don't even have the deck that we're using the images from. I have it on my Amazon wishlist, but I don't own it. And I was originally planning to use a different cover image, which I will actually place on the screen here. And I was guided not to use that one. I was guided to literally go out and Google these particular images and use the mushroom deck instead. So there's something about mushroom magic that I'm hearing earth-based kingdom wants you to be aware of. Perhaps there's something about the spiral nature of time that the mushroom kingdom is going to help you to realize or understand. Something about mycelium networks in the earth or underneath. I'm being shown now caverns in the earth, almost like cave networks underneath. Far, far below the roots of the trees, though. I do know, just thinking out loud here, but I do have awareness that the trees and the roots of the trees themselves use mycelium networks to communicate or something like that. But I'm hearing bridging the gap, and there's something about like these deep root networks, and I'm being shown deeper down caves with crystals in them. So we could even be talking about inner earth frequencies here, or inner earth plants and animals and crystals and geodes and nature-based entities or consciousness. And I'm hearing the earth is a portal, and I'm hearing halfway there, and between worlds I'm being shown. There's two worlds now I'm being shown. It's like the physical earth that we are aware of, and then there's like this other version, which is the nature kingdom, or the plants, the fairies, the fauna, all of the consciousness that exists. I'm having a hard time saying that word, exists there. But I'm being told, and I'm being shown that it exists there for a reason. And there's something about the bridge between the worlds that is protected, that's guarded. And I'm hearing the word sanctuary, and now I'm being shown a garden, but I'm hearing the word miserable. Okay, so the garden was beautiful and lush and filled with, it looked very magical. It was like an enchanted little grove, little bit of sunlight peeking through and shimmering off of the dew on the leaves of the plants, and it felt very magical. And then when I heard that word miserable, everything kind of shrunk and it got sort of gray and dark and cloudy. There's something about healing that's connected to this imagery that they're showing and the energy behind it. It's like there's maybe a deep well of sadness or pain or disconnection, and that miserable feeling shows up as a result of the disconnection from that natural world. I'm hearing the word favoritism, and I'm being shown like mean bullying type people. And the fairies it's almost like I'm seeing pixies kind of like pelting them with little stones and rocks and acorns. Almost like and they're angry and they're saying, stop it. But they don't, but the humans don't listen. Okay. And I'm being shown now a gateway It's like there's a gateway between the worlds, and they're showing it to me like this arched, sort of like ivy, arched ivy is the imagery that I'm seeing. I'm hearing the word pilgrim, pilgrimage, and moving through the gateway. Something about that mycelium network is connected to that, and the underground, under earth or inner earth. And I'm hearing connection to all things, and I'm seeing the world spinning again. Connection to all things. It's all connected. There is no separation, but it feels like we're being reminded here that we forgot that. Or our world forgot that. Our human consciousness got separated out from that in some way. It's like we took too long on something. I'm being shown we took too long to remember. We forgot, and then we took too long to remember. Now, it's not saying that there's a deadline on that, but it's kind of like we need to not necessarily start from scratch again, but I'm seeing the building blocks from earlier, like those childhood building blocks. And so to some degree, we do have to kind of start over. We do have to learn it all over again. It's kind of like if you were learning a language and you were almost fluent, or you were fluent, but then you didn't use it for so long that you completely forgot. And even if you mastered it at a certain level, because the amount of time or forgetting doesn't even necessarily have to be about time, but just the depth of the forgetting was so deep or profound that the remembering isn't enough, and there's a certain level of rebuilding that needs to occur, relearning. The memory will serve in that, or serve well in that, but the relearning is still necessary. And what are you teaching here, fairies? They said peacefulness, and then they showed me like an image of a fairy meditating. It's peacefulness, and then they said connection, and they're showing me heart frequency connection. And I'm seeing all of the plants in nature lighting up and connecting to these vibrations from the heart. It's like you can feel everything around you. Everything is sort of glowing, and I'm hearing inching closer, and I'm seeing a completion of a cycle. Something about the earth networks, and I'm hearing propaganda, and something about like a time period to come. Ooh, a little bit of prediction coming in here, I guess. I'm hearing and seeing leaves falling. I heard the phrase leaves falling, and at the same time I'm being shown leaves falling off the trees. Something about past timelines is coming up, and there's a closure of old timelines that was connected to like war and nuclear fallout. Now I'm being shown. And I'm hearing the great forgetting. Something about a rift or separation, and they're showing me atomic codes. It's like the atoms were split and the separation occurred and we forgot. And the mushrooms and the networks of mycelium somehow are helping us remember. I'm hearing tracking, and they're showing me like energy pulses running through, like photonic pulses running through these mushroom networks, like not the fruiting body of the mushroom that exists above the soil, but the deep layers of the fungi that exist underneath the earth. And I'm hearing holders of wisdom. So it's almost like it's reminding me kind of like Lemurian crystals, Lemurian quartz, and how they store coded memory imprinted into the crystal itself through light. I'm kind of seeing that, but instead of it being in a crystal, it's in these mycelium networks. Now I'm being shown makers and forgers, and I'm being shown almost like, what is this from? It's reminding me of Gimli from Lord of the Rings, or another image that's coming to mind. I think it was from Guardians of the Galaxy, where there's a dwarf that forges something in like this galactic sun or star. I'm being shown something like that, where there's like a forge, and I'm hearing forge of nature. And forging something from nature, and I'm being shown pulling something out of your solar plexus, like something that was hidden there. I'm not sure what it is. Something in the solar plexus chakra, hidden inside you. And I'm hearing the great template. Something about makers and making a way to bridge the two worlds again, or forging something inside you that it feels almost like electrically receives the signal or the pulse, or is able to commune in this way. But it feels bioenergetic. And I'm hearing the word force field. So yeah, it feels very much like something in your auric field. And I'm hearing timekeepers, and I'm being shown the mushroom networks again, the mycelium timekeepers. They are tracking something over time and transmitting information back and forth, or storing that information underground. And I'm hearing timekeepers revealed, and I'm being shown watches going backwards, like the face of a clock. And instead of going clockwise, it's starting to spin counterclockwise. And then this is so strange, but I saw the tentacles of an octopus that kind of looked like the mushrooms themselves, but they had turned tentacle-like, were moving up to the hour hand of the clock as it was approaching the number 12, and they grabbed onto it and stopped it from spinning. And I'm hearing peace in silence. Something about counteracting a reversal. And something about the atomic clock. Oh, okay. Atomic clock and the splitting of the atom. This got way more scientific than I was expecting. I was not thinking the fairies were going to want to talk about this today. Okay. And I'm being shown rings of light and pools of water. Something about pylons. It feels like this is connected to the Earth's grid network, the ley lines on the Earth. And they're talking about a frequency shift. Something about necessary timing, and it needed to slow down, or something needed to be corrected. I'm hearing inversion of time. There was like an inversion of time that needed to be corrected, and we're pulling it back on course again. We're getting it back on course again. Okay, now I'm hearing time frequencies will be speeding up. And I'm being shown chipmunks and squirrels and hummingbirds, and how they move so much faster than we do, and how they actually experience time as if it's slowed down. So that's how they're able to react and move so quickly, is because they literally see us as if we're moving in slow motion. And there's something about the way that we are currently experiencing time that might be changing. And I'm hearing in the coming months. So this is actually quite soon. And it's almost like the world is speeding up, or the rotation of the planet is increasing. And now I'm being shown, in the movie Superman, how Lois Lane dies, and he's so grieved about that he flies around the earth in reverse to turn back time. And then he rescues her. So there's maybe something about the past. Again, it's like something needed to be corrected. Maybe time needed to be turned back so that something could be reversed that was done, that needed to be undone. And then now we're kind of correcting it and moving back forward again, kind of giving me almost like retrograde energy, where the planets from our vantage point appear to be moving backwards or in reverse. And then it gives us time to review something, and then we're able to move forward again once that process is complete. And it feels like that completion is coming in the next 4 months. And I'm hearing mission statement, something about that's come through in a couple of other readings as well lately. I've noticed mission statement, and it's something about this layer of the auric field, like the mission statement is in the auric field. It's stored there. It's like a vibrational frequency, and I'm hearing harmonizing, and I'm being shown these two frequencies coming together, and I'm hearing bridging the gap again. So two frequencies coming together, and I'm hearing relearning and something about training. Okay, and now that that knight with the wood armor, the little fairy knight, is coming back again. And I'm hearing standing guard. And I see a bunch of other, his comrades or his colleagues are kind of lining up beside him. So they're forming almost like this fairy guard or this network that I'm hearing the word proceed. It's like I don't know what that means, but there's something about the way they're lining up, and then it's like they're getting ready to proceed or move forward. I'm not sure. I'm hearing helpers in other realms, okay, and I'm being shown those miserable people again being pelted with little acorns and pebbles and things like that. They don't feel it, but it's almost like a wake-up call, I think, is what this is meant to symbolize, to get out of the pain networks or pain frequencies, something about getting out of suffering. Reconnecting again with nature helps us to open our hearts and to feel again. The miserableness was almost like a disease is what it feels like. Not to say that emotions of sadness or grief or pain or whatever suffering is bad. That's not the case. But it's like there was like this spreading of this energy that lowered the vibration of many, many people, and more importantly, lowered the consciousness of many, many people, because consciousness and vibration do tend to correlate. And so as the consciousness lowered, the vibration lowered, and the level of interaction with the nature kingdoms was shut down, or it was lost over time, and we forgot. And I'm hearing the word superstition, and I'm being shown some like a woman throwing the baby out with the bathwater, all the dirty water and the baby getting chucked out the window. And it's kind of like maybe there was something to superstition that was like the old folk tales and things like that, or the old ancestral wisdom that was there wasn't all beneficial, but it's like we threw out everything when we adopted more reality-based metrics for measuring what we believed. And I'm being shown almost like worldwide depression. And I'm hearing army of awakening. And I'm being shown fairies pressing on the center of the forehead. So awakening the ability to see or to feel or to perceive intuitively is going to help. I'm hearing mission statement, and I'm being shown that auric field again. Reawakening the vibration in the auric field to raise the consciousness to be able to perceive, but more importantly, to be able to feel. And through that, healing and reconnecting with that bridge to the other side, with that gateway between the natural kingdom and the physical earth as we know it. The natural kingdoms of consciousness specifically. Okay, I'm feeling the energy wrap up now. I think that's the end of the message here for you, group number 1. What an interesting reading. I'm going to sit on this for a bit and go to bed, and I will come back tomorrow to do group 2 and group 3, but I'm pretty mind blown here. So I will let you take that and mull it over as well. Just take what resonates and leave the rest. And we'll see you in the next reading. Bye. All right, hi group number 2. Welcome to your reading. You chose the High Priestess or the Fairy Ring Champignon. And I must say that this reading has been haunting me for a while. It has been about half a month, so it's been a couple of weeks since I did group number 1. It has been a long time, and I felt this reading was calling me to wait It was pushing me to accept and surrender the natural process and order of things. Whenever this does happen, but usually it happens with client readings and private sessions, not necessarily with public pick-a-card readings, it's because there is a divine timing that's at play, and we need to honor that. So I feel like that's part of this, but equally, I do feel like it was also a test for me as the deliverer of this message by the fairies, and specifically this fairy archetype that seems to connect or correlate to the high priestess. So it's like there was a timing involved or time factors involved in this energetic portal that we are opening today, and not just when I'm receiving it and transmitting it in this message and recording it, but actually when you're sitting down to watch it. So there is a time and a place for this energy to be experienced and to be held. So we are going to channel and scry some messages from the fairy realm for you today here. And I am right away seeing a fairy priestess holding a crystal ball or some kind of an orb in her hand, and she's gazing down at it. That's the first thing I'm being shown. So it feels like you're looking into the future, the past, and I'm also hearing looking sideways. So you can look ahead or you can look behind, but you can also look sideways. And I'm also getting the above and below directions too. So it's like you can really look in every direction, but specifically there's an emphasis here on looking sideways. And what this is kind of showing me is it's like looking sideways here represents looking between dimensions. And the fairy rings in your card of the High Priestess indicate portals to the fairy realm. And I'm hearing the words extra dimensional. So it seems to me, group number 2, that those of you who have been called here have been invited or are aware that you are capable of looking sideways in the sense that you are able to look between the realms and also behind the veil. The traditional Rider-Waite-Smith princess, didn't mean to say princess, okay, so something of a princess energy here is coming up as well. Priestess, I meant to say, is able to look behind the curtain of the veil, and this is the veil between worlds and also the veil between life and death. And when I was sitting down to prepare for your reading today, because I did finally get that nudge, I did see myself Googling something beforehand, like before I'd even stepped through the portal of my own office, like the doorways are portals too. Before I'd even stepped through that portal for this initiation, because that's what's coming through, this initiation, I had seen myself Googling something, and my computer, I had forgotten it was already on my desk because I was using it for a client session today. And I don't normally have it on the desk because I don't do client sessions that often in that form. And I saw myself Googling something, and then when I sat down and started tuning in and started processing the energy of the potential of this reading, I heard the word Karmic. And so I looked that up, and I even spelled it correctly first shot, which is rare for me. And apparently it's connected to Brittany, France, a department of Brittany in France, and these megalithic stone structures, or these Cairn stones. So the Karmic stones are an extensive collection of over 3,000 prehistoric standing stones, including rose, stone tombs, and burial mounds. The meaning of the stones themselves is debated, but there's theories including religious monuments, solar or lunar worship, and astronomical calendars. The etymology of the name Karmic likely comes from the word Cairn, which means pile of stones. So I wanted to relay that information here directly from Google. I do feel like it refers back to what I was just mentioning about the High Priestess herself and how she is the bridge between the worlds. She is able to pierce the veil or look behind the veil. And in this case, the Cairns connecting to burial chambers is really what's standing out to me. They're representative of this sort of between the liminal space between life and death and the spirit realm. So it feels like these fairy guides that we're working with here today, that are bringing through these messages or channeling through this portal, are wanting you to have awareness of the connection to and through history and to and through the spirit realm. Not just to the fairy realm, although that's what we're focusing on, that's the emphasis for today, but specifically to the energy of time and transition, and how you're able to tap into that through these natural networks and placeholders in time that show up as portals. And I just heard the phrase divine synchronicity. So this could be another clue for you to follow. I'm being shown breadcrumbs, like, Hansel and Gretel leaving the breadcrumb trail behind to find their way back. And it feels strongly as though you've been led by yourself through this breadcrumb trail of clues and synchronicities to find what this dimension has to offer. This one that you're currently in, and also the ones that are sideways from it, the ones that are adjacent. It's like you're able to pierce that veil or go beyond it in some way. And you're invited to come back. You're invited to go there and then come back. So there's this back and forth or transitory type of energy. It's like you're able to go back in time, you're able to go forward in time, you're able to go in a sideways trajectory in time or in a linear way. You're able to cycle through time. So this group of souls who's been drawn to group 2, this is very profound. There's like a roundabout type of energy I'm getting as well. There's it's a circle, right? So the portals are circles, the time flow is circular, the fairy ring is circular, and there's something about the shape of the circle or stone circles that are very significant. They are markers for life, I just heard. Oh, okay. Circles, right? The circle of life, perhaps, but I don't really fully know what that means, markers of life. But there's something about that circle that is somehow a marker of life. Now, the other thing that stood out to me when I was studying your card, I was just kind of taking in the imagery, which you see here on the screen, and the Berkana rune on the left tree really stood out to me. And I know that rune, but I couldn't remember what it represents. And so I also Googled that, and we'll share what the meaning is here as well. So the Berkana rune symbolizes birth, new beginnings, and fertility. It's closely associated with the divine feminine, growth and healing, and we see the high priestess here being the divine feminine prophet, or the divine feminine energy that is able to transit across worlds or across time in this way. Berkana represents the nurturing power of motherhood, the cycles of life from birth to death and rebirth, and is also linked to the birch tree for its role in new life. And I do believe there actually is a birch tree in the image as well on the right-hand side. So here we have again this cycle and this circular flow from birth to death and then a rebirth. So there's an energy again of back and forth and then back again. So you're able to transit in both or all of these directions. And I do want to read birch as well. So birth and new beginnings. As the first tree to sprout new leaves after winter, the birch tree connects this rune to fresh starts, and it can signal the start of a new phase in life or a project. So I do feel like there's a new phase in life that has been, in regard to time, cycling, and it needed some time to catch up, or you needed time to process parts of that cycle to then land yourself in this position here and now. Okay, so let's continue to channel. We'll jump back into the direct Scryed channel from these fairy spirits for your greatest and highest good. Messages from the High Priestess. Okay, so I'm being shown a cauldron, and it's actually reminding me of a different reading that I did. I think it was the Hecate reading, and I believe it was number 3, and the number 3 is looking like the shape of the bee in Berkana. It's like pregnant mother energy. So I'm getting Empress energy coming through as well from the number 3 and from the shape that it makes. Berkana, it always reminds me of birth because it starts with bee and it's the shape of the breasts and the belly. And it's the same thing with the number 3. It represents this rebirth, new life, and the Empress energy to me because, first of all, it's connected to the number 3 of the tarot card, the Empress, and it's also got that shape of the breasts and pregnant belly. So there's something of a rebirth here that's happening, and I'm being reminded of that cauldron that we were just shown, and how in that group 3 reading for Hecate, we were talking about being able to move through time in multiple different ways. I would have to go back and rewatch that one to fully remind myself and jog my memory of that, but it feels very much connected to this reading. So if you were drawn to that reading as well, either before or after this, there's additional messages there for you that will connect to the healing. I'm hearing healing message and hearing message, hearing the message, hearing the healing message here today as well. So there's the cauldron in that reading we were talking about was putting time in the cauldron and being able to cook with that cauldron, or being able to work with time in that magical way. Something about time soup, and I'm being shown somebody stirring the cauldron clockwise and then counterclockwise. So again, forward in time and backward in time. Now, the other thing that I was just drawn to is the fact that the symbol of the pregnant mother and the Empress, they are portals as well. The body becomes a portal for life when new life emerges from it or is born from it. So mother and divine mother energy and this high priestess divine feminine energy is very much calling you to recognize the power of your presence is what's coming through, actually, the power of your presence and the power of your body as a portal, not just to create life literally, but just energetically. And I've said this before. I haven't said it often, but I have said it before in at least one other reading over the course of my reading journey here. People are portals. People are portals. That's why when you enter someone's energy, you start to interact and exchange with their energy, and they become an open portal to kind of like their reality. That's why it's like you become like the people that you hang out with the most, because through osmosis, you're connecting to their reality portal. And the same goes for healing as well. So when you are transited and transmitted to a healer, it's because you are ready to walk through that healing portal. And it's a healing portal that exists beyond time, but it has found you in this particular time in your life. Okay, now I'm being shown lightning in the sky and blue lightning. And I'm hearing portal activation. And there's something about the birch tree and this portal. Something about a past life where someone you loved was struck down by illness very suddenly. It was a tower moment because I'm being shown the birch tree being struck by lightning, and it's reminding me of the oak tower in a different tarot card that I have, or tarot deck that I have, which is the tower card. So there was some kind of death or destruction in a previous lifetime that you are intending to reconcile with for the purpose of healing. And I'm hearing something about a stave, like staving off, and or perhaps some kind of a wand. And I'm being shown something about an award as well. And at first I thought, because I'm being shown like this plastic gold cup, like a little award, at first that's what I thought, but then as soon as I said it out loud, it felt like protection, and I realized that the word could be broken up into 2 words: award. To ward something off, to ward it is to protect it. And I'm being shown in my mind's eye again the Berkana rune on the tree. So there's something about runic symbolism or warding, spell casting, conjuring, and being able to work through some kind of healing from the past in a sort of mythical or magical way. Oh, right. That's why the Hecate reading is connected, because Hecate is the goddess of witches and witchcraft. So it feels to me, group number 2, that the fairy realm is inviting you to recall your history here. You could have a history of being a witch in previous lifetimes, or having been identified as a witch by other people, whether you identified as that or not, but having some kind of quality of magic abilities, which doesn't surprise me since you were drawn to the High Priestess card. So there is definitely an aspect of your soul that comes through in a strongly and profoundly mystical way. Now, in this day and age, we don't always call it witchcraft. Sometimes we just call it, you're an empath, or you're a healer, you're a sensitive person, you're psychic, you are magical, or you can manifest. In those times, you would have been identified as a witch. And in this lifetime, you may still identify as a witch, and that is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But there's something in this message of healing for you, to be able to reclaim something that was lost in the past. And it's like you're moving through these multi-dimensional territories to be able to understand what took place and what was quote unquote taken from you, although nothing can truly be taken from you. In this cycle of life, everything comes back around. All energy just changes form. It never actually truly dies. It just dissipates and transforms. And so there's something of this natural cycle that you're being asked to look at and to understand, and to perhaps repair some misplaced energy around feeling as though life dominated over you and stripped you of your power. So there's a healing in the reclamation of your power, the reclamation of yourself and these parts of the self, or the healing of the heart through time and through these multidimensional layers. So you're able to recall the past, connect to the future, and to receive from the middle realms as well. Now, I did just see a flash of Yggdrasil, which is the world tree. And I believe in Nordic mythology. You know what? Let's just go ahead and look that up too. I've still got the computer out, so. The world tree. In Old Norse, Yggdrasil is an immense and central sacred tree. Around it exists all else, including the 9 worlds. So it's kind of like this bridge between all different realities, and it feels as though you have this connection to Yggdrasil, or to this connection to all things. And there's something about the birth and birch that keep coming up as well. Birth and birch. You might want to look to what month of the year birth or birch. Hold on, I do feel called to look that up as well. So I'm just looking up the birth month of birch tree, and it says the time frame is from December 24th to January 20th. And I am currently filming this on December 1st. I started this reading with group number 1 on November 12th. So again, there's something about these time frames. It says the birch tree birth month is December 24th to January 20th, according to the Celtic tree calendar. It is the first month of this calendar, and it is associated with the start of the year, symbolizing renewal, rebirth, and new beginnings, as we mentioned before. Those born under the birch tree are often considered ambitious, resilient, and natural leaders, with a pioneering spirit and a drive to move towards the light, as they are born during the darkest part of the year. So it feels like this is that rebirth of the soft divine feminine in the darkness, in the void space, the negative space, the in-between, very much connected to dark feminine, not shadow feminine, not distorted dark feminine, but it's like this womb space where it is dark in there until the birth occurs, and then you're born into the light. And it is a balance of both. So yin and yang, masculine and feminine, being... I'm hearing something about altering the course of the year, and I'm being shown fall or autumn and the leaves falling off of the tree. But this could also symbolize death as well. I'm being called to read more about Yggdrasil, so let's go back over here for a second. Yggdrasil is an immense ash tree that is central to the cosmos and considered very holy. The gods go to Yggdrasil daily to assemble at their traditional governing assemblies. The branches of Yggdrasil extend far into the heavens, and the tree is supported by 3 roots that extend far away into other locations. One to the well Ordebrunner, I'm not going to pronounce that right, in the heavens, one to the spring Velgemar, and another to the well Mimisbrunner. Creatures live within Yggdrasil, including the dragon, the squirrel, the hawk, and the stags. So you could have some paganistic or Germanic roots. You could have Britannic roots or Welsh roots. There's paganistic, sort of Celtic energy here, as well as Nordic, of course. So those are obviously 2 completely different cultures, but both of them have this nature-based paganism at their core and mythology surrounding that. And it feels like these were previous lifetimes. These could have even both been relevant lifetimes for you. And the energy of death is prominent within the connection to these previous lifetimes. So of course, since you're no longer in those lifetimes, you died in those lifetimes and now you're here. That's the nature of this cycle of life or circle of life. But there's almost like a death wound or an impact that the death of someone else or of yourself left on you in those lifetimes, especially if you were sensitive to those souls that were passing through the death portal, if we want to look at it that way, the bridge between worlds. Because it does feel like you are, I just heard the word sorcerer, okay, it does feel like you are sensitive to the movement of energy between liminal spaces or in those liminal spaces between worlds. Trees could be very significant for you. Trees themselves holding messages or like community. There's something about the community of the trees or the spirits of the trees that you are connected to. I just heard the words Old English. And I'm being shown Old English typeface, like written in Old English. And Old English is, yes, it's what English that we have today is derived from, but it's almost unintelligible if we try to read it now because it's been so long. So I just heard something about Dante's Inferno, and I do believe that that's written in Old English. I could be wrong, but there's something about these lower realms that are coming up now. I'm seeing blue flames, and I did recently just learn that sulfur, which is associated with the devil or associated with Hades, now we're kind of bridging into Greek mythology with Hades, but with the underworld, is blue, actually, because sulfur, when it burns blue. It doesn't burn red or orange. And I did see blue lightning as well. So there's something about the color blue that is significant here. I'm hearing a soul stream messenger. And I'm hearing something about a period piece. And again, this like messages that are transmitted through or across time. Something about witchcraft as well. So you could be working through healing some witch wounds here. You could be working on healing soul fragmentation here, or you could be one of those souls that helps to transit souls to the other world. Whether you're aware of this or not, you could be somebody who does translate for spirit because you're able to pass through these portals at will, or to create your own portals, or to be a portal yourself. We all are, but there's great power in doing it consciously, conscientiously, and intentionally when in alignment with the highest order. So there's a certain level of responsibility that comes to being in that high priestess energy, and to being that portal for energy to move through as undisturbed. And I'm also hearing undestructed, and then I'm being shown construction as well, as that energy is able to pass through you. Yeah, and as soon as I said pass through you, I was being shown a pass through door, like in the kitchen, where it swings in both directions. So it doesn't just open in or out, it is able to hinge in both directions and it's able to pass through like that. So there's something about this, again, back and forth or energy moving in both directions. You're able to give or to share or to transmit through time or across dimensions, and you're also able to receive. So it goes back and forth. Messengers, I'm hearing messengers. Yeah, many in this group are messengers of spirit. You work for and with the spirit realm. You transmit messages from the afterlife. You transmit messages from the multi-dimensional realms, the extra-dimensional space that exists outside of time, messages from the future. And I'm hearing the word synchronicity again, which is, in my eyes, time awareness. When we work with synchronicity, what we're actually doing is becoming aware of the symbolism of the passage of time. We're becoming aware of the connections between things, and those breadcrumbs are almost like points in time, like timestamps on the time map. And we're able to look and understand, not always fully, but given enough time, those synchronicities end up making sense. But they kind of point us towards certain things through the passage of time. And that's one way of connecting to and reading the future, is to pay attention to synchronicities. I've talked about this for years on my channel, and I will say it again here, that if you keep track of synchronicities for long enough and in enough detail, you will see how things will become connected and how those synchronicities tell you things through time. Another way to do it is, of course, scrying, traditional scrying with crystal balls, which is where we started this reading, and it's what the High Priestess is all about. So being able to connect to fortune tell, so to say, although I think that's kind of like a very derivative way of saying it, but it's not telling of fortunes, it's reading of time. And being able to be a non-local soul, whatever that means, because that's what's coming through. Being able to be a non-local soul means that you have access to all of these different transition points in time, and you're able to connect willingly and intentionally to messages and information that transcend this particular time matrix, the third dimension. So back to the trees again. I'm being shown mushrooms climbing a tree, growing up a tree, ivy growing up a tree. So something about climbing the tree of life, getting to higher points in the timeline, or getting to know yourself more deeply so that your soul can ascend and access higher points in time or portals in time. And I'm hearing the word renewal. So again, we saw that with Berkana, we saw that with Birch, but I'm hearing the word renewal. I'm being shown a white cast, white snow, something about a white domain. And it feels like it's representative of purity, but there's something more to it. It feels like a location. How do I describe this? Well, I just heard the whites realm, and it's being shown to me visually, like I'm seeing the word and WIGHT instead of what I was thinking is like the color white, WHITE, but it's showing WIGHT. So I'm going to look that up as well. We're doing a lot of research in this reading. You could be a student of the divine. You could be a student of spirit. You could be working with and recalling or reassembling your knowledge and your wisdom, or the history of your soul across time in all of these different dimensions. And so there is a certain level of research. But also I just realized that Google and the internet is about being connected to all information across time. And I feel very strongly that that's representative of this group as well. It's like you are a walking hotspot, like you are a portal. You have this infinite interconnectedness to source. It's like spiritual Wi-Fi, so to speak. And you have a data bank at your behest. You know, you can connect to that. Perhaps it's Akashic reading, perhaps it's time stream reading, perhaps it's something else that I'm not familiar with. But whatever we call it, you have connectivity. So let me look up the Whites realm. I don't know if anything will come up there. I'm also hearing the Isle of Wight. The two things that have come up here when I Googled the Whites realm are fictional references. So there's a reference to White Walkers in Game of Thrones and something about the Realm of Thrones mod for the game Mountain Blade. Okay, so horses could be significant, swords could be significant symbolism and synchronicities for you. I'm also seeing zebras being referenced, black and white, dark and light. And we're looking at this definition of the Whites realm. It doesn't feel quite right, but it does feel significant because there's something about, again, like death, and the Whites feel significant or connected to that. So I have to go a little bit deeper here and find out what Whites are. Okay, so when I just Googled what are Whites, a White is an archaic or dialectical word for a living creature, especially a human being. In a more specific, often fictional context, a White can also refer to a type of undead or supernatural being, such as a grave spirit. And we started out talking about the sounds, okay, something about sound, but I meant to say the cairns and the burial mounds, such as a grave spirit. Yeah, so the word comes from the Old English word. Okay, there's Old English reference again. Word white, meaning a creature or a thing. So there could be something about fiction and fantasy that are significant, because there's also a reference here to J.R.R. Tolkien and how he used the word white to describe the evil grave spirits found in his stories, and legends and lore and mythology and fantasy. It's like you're able to transit between those realms. And I've talked about this before on the channel as well, and I keep mentioning that in this reading. So, and I don't do that in every reading. So there's something about old things from the past that are being brought back up for you to refer to or to refresh yourself on. But I've said this before in other readings that writers and anyone who is able to use the imagination is a form of a channel, because the imagination is a bridge. It is not just a fantasy realm. It is like an astral territory. It is a creation realm. And so if you are able to access your imagination, you are able to access the divine realm and the spirit realm, whether you're aware that that's what you're doing or not. And a lot of authors are actually channeling stories and information and characters and different narratives from outside of this time-space reality and into these creation realms. Like, we could call it different states of the astral realm, different dimensions, things like that. And I'm hearing the words planetary bodies, something about planetary bodies. I'm being shown the moon, which is not a planet. It's like a satellite because it orbits Earth. But there's something about planetary bodies and that white cast of light. Okay, I just wanted to double check where the Isle of Wight is. It's in England. It's an island off the south coast of England, known for its beaches. I was gonna say, I feel like there's something about the rocks, and I was gonna Google that separately, but as I kept reading down, it says the needles are 3 huge white chalk rocks guarded by a 19th century lighthouse. So there's definitely something about these markers in time, or these old monoliths, or like prehistory, and something about history itself and being able to transit and move through time in this way. And I'm being shown like gateways and castles and drawbridges and moats. And again, it's like these transition from inside to outside, from one space to another. So for many of you, okay, it's 10:10. I just noticed on the time, 10:10 p.m. Something about the number 1010 could be significant or a synchronicity for you as well. There seems to be a process of reclamation and the building of a new foundation, or the creation of something new in this lifetime. And I'm hearing the word protection. And I'm being shown protection for the birth, whether this is symbolic birth or otherwise, protection for the birth of the new life, the new self, the new whatever this is, new cycle. And I feel like just like castles need protection, so do you. And so you have that in the spirit realm. I just heard the fairy district. It's like you have that protection in the fairy district. You may come from there, or you may have spent time there as a soul in pre-incarnation, working in that fairy realm, working with the white spirits I'm hearing, but now they're saying it as in the color white, the white spirits, or okay, hold on. I just heard the wives of the dead. What? Widowers, and I'm being shown a willow tree and a pond underneath a willow tree. And something about whites again. The spirits of the dead. Something about an enclave. What's an enclave? The definition of enclave here, it says a place or group that is different in character from those surrounding it. And the Latin derivative of the word is clavis, meaning key. And then it translated into Old French, enclever, meaning to enclose or dovetail. The key to the enclosure. It's like you have the key to the castle here. And it feels like you are being encouraged to be conscientious about who or what you give access or entry. Because if you are a portal, and a powerful one at that, then you need to be very discerning about what type of energy you let access you. And it refers to human beings as well. What type of people you let access you. Because sometimes people don't always have the best intention. They want to piggyback, or they want to use your access point for their own means, which are not always of the highest good. And you also want to be careful with the types of spirits that you're working with. I'm getting this message about like it's not dangerous if you know how to do it. And it's kind of like driving. Driving, if you have a license to drive or you're an experienced or skilled driver, you're able to move in transit in that way safely. But if you are not secure in what you're doing, if you're distracted in what you're doing, or if you let someone else drive who's not a good driver, that's when it becomes dangerous. Or if you move too quickly. So there's a message here, almost a precaution of this need for awareness and intellectual safety so that you can protect this process that I think mostly goes on unconsciously, but you may have the skill of being able to consciously direct it at will as things go on, as you continue to learn. I'm hearing the word novice. For some of you, you're just beginning this. For others of you, you are very practiced at this. But you did start out as a novice, and there's a certain level of understanding that's acquired in that time period that perhaps you're being called to look back on, or to remember, or perhaps to transmit and to share. Students become teachers, and vice versa. So I think I'm going to leave the reading here, group number 2. It says it's already 43 minutes. So yeah, we'll leave the reading here. I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for your attendance in this subgroup today. And I hope that it was a beneficial message. Just take what resonates and leave the rest for your greatest and highest good, and the greatest and highest good of all. Many blessings and much love. We'll see you next time. Bye. All right. Hi, group number 3. Welcome to your reading, channeled messages and scryed information from the fairies. And you were drawn to the Fool card, Chicken of the Woods. So we're just going to open up the channel here to the other realm and allow it to provide whatever insight or information would like to be moved through today. Okay, right away I'm hearing make way, which I think is a song from Moana. And I'm being shown energy clearing or a path being cleared. And I'm being shown somebody walking through the woods and pushing some bushes and trees aside that were once in the way. So you're making a path for yourself here through the thicket. Something about a bunny rabbit in the bushes. Bunnies can represent sensitivity, being on your guard, hypersensitivity, fear, or innocence as well. But it's looking to me, it's like when you're moving through this forest realm or this archetype of the forest or through the bushes. It's like you're clearing a path, and some of the animals in the underbrush are getting awakened by this movement, or they're being startled and kind of shaken out. Whatever that means. It feels like it's parts of yourself. If I had to really kind of interpret it, it feels like as you are creating new pathways in the forest, you are awakening different parts of yourself, maybe startling them, maybe not, but there's something new that you're doing here, that you're doing it in a new way. And so it's kind of shaking things up. It feels like making this pathway has taken some time. It may have even taken a toll on you. I'm being shown somebody with cuts and scratches all over their arms because they've been working their way through the underbrush in this way, and there's been branches and thorns and thickets that you've had to maneuver deftly or strategically or sometimes forcefully through. But the spirit of this fool archetype is with you, and the fool is fearless in a sense, because the fool is willing to journey. I'm hearing the word sojourn, to journey, or to make new tracks and to blaze new trails. The fool is really fearless because he is hopeful, he is a pioneer, and he is willing to face the unknown because he is curious and he's open to what is created there. Kitty is coming into your reading today, so there's something about animals, again, being shaken from the underbrush. It's like as you move through the forest and you make this new way, the animals awaken, and the spirits of the animals could be a significant sign that this is what you're doing. For somebody here, I'm being shown that you were forced to take your time. You were made to move intentionally, slowly. And I'm being shown somebody standing in this forest looking around, and I'm seeing all of these different arrows pointing out from you. Kitty. And I'm hearing the word omnidirectional. With this fresh start fool energy, it's kind of like you can move in any direction. You can create a course or a pathway in any direction. And so perhaps that's why you were required to take your time with this, because you needed to choose which direction you wanted to move in. And it wasn't necessarily the path of least resistance. It was the one that was calling you to forge that path where none had existed before. It's kind of reminding me of the Robert Frost poem about the pathless woods, or the path in the woods, or you took the one less traveled, something like that. Yes, there's definitely a pioneering energy here. Willingness to go first, willingness to go and to try, even if you fail. There's a willingness to attempt something and to move in a particular direction. I think that's what the scratches and the bumps and the bruises represent. It's like some of the minor or moderate tensions or difficulties that you've experienced along this pathway or any other pathway that you've traversed thus far. But I do see a bold statement that this pathway is making. It's like you're creating a pathway for others to follow, or for many generations to come to partake in. Come here. You seem to have some friendly animal guides. The foxes and the fairies are protectors and connectors of the fairy realm. And there's a bridge here to the natural kingdom as well for you, group number 3. So animals do seem to be significant collaborators and co-conspirators in this pathless woods that you're walking or creating. Not that you're creating the pathless woods, but you're creating paths in the woods, and the animal spirits act as guides, support, warning signs. They really they provide whatever it is that you happen to need. It's like they are a source of resourceful energy that you can draw on. They're also protectors and specifically also guides as well. I'm hearing the word contemplate. And again, I'm being shown this person standing in sort of like a clearing in the woods and going, there's no path in any direction, so it's up to me. What do I create out of this? Or which direction do I choose to create a path in? So there is a sense of unlimited potential here, but it also does come with some kind of a challenge. Well, actually twofold. There's 2 challenges here. Number 1 is deciding which direction you want to go in without really knowing where that's going to lead. And the other challenge is forging that trail and creating that path from nothing, which is a challenge in and of itself. However, once again, I feel like you have guiding and guardian spirits here helping you, spirit totem animals and all sorts of spirit and natural kingdom guides that are in support. And I'm hearing the word regeneration, that are helping you to regenerate your will and your willingness to proceed. Okay, now I just heard the pathless woods set on fire and the pathless woods ablaze. And then I was seeing all of a sudden this woodland realm starting to light up with fire. And I'm hearing something about a silken road, and it's like I'm being shown all of this fire in the underbrush in this forest now being lit up, and there's a sense of pressure or haste that you are feeling as you've decided that path, or you're forced to choose that path. I'm not sure what the timing is of this or what the energy is of this fire, but it feels like there's kind of pressure now to move in a particular direction. And the path that's being created here, it's got this silk, it's like a silk road, or it's a pathway made of silk. I'm not really sure what that means, but it feels vibrant, I want to say. I know that's a strange, like silk isn't really vibrant, but that's the sensation I'm getting. It feels like a vibrant pathway. It's full of life. It's created from life. And actually, now that I think about it, silk is made from silkworms. It's one of the only textiles, well, not the only textile. Obviously, cotton is made from plants as well, but there's something about it coming from a life form that's not just a plant. It's created from life. So there's a vibrancy, perhaps in that regard. There's a vibrancy of life on this particular path, and the weaving of it yourself, or the texture of it, is woven with life. Plants and animals, again, coming up, so very significant. It's like you are connected to these life realms, and you are able to create pathways for life to move along, to move through. I'm being shown leaves on the trees, and the way that what would you call that? Like the spine of the leaf, and how it has those little, almost like veins that run through it. And I'm being shown the forest having all of these different trails like veins. And veins are where the lifeblood runs through and gets to where it needs to go. So there's something about you moving through the forest here that is highly symbolic of this movement of life and this transit of energy in this way. And it was kind of reminding me of neural networks, because I remember in the past when I worked with clients one-on-one, I used to use the analogy of the brain as a forest. And when you are forging a new neural pathway, essentially what you are doing is blazing a trail through that thicket. You know, you've got your machete or just your bare hands, and you're trying as you might to create a pathway, and it's difficult to do it because you're moving against or out of homeostasis, or the conditioning. Your brain will always take the path of least resistance. And if you're trying to create a new habit or a new pattern of thinking, to condition a new realm of thought, and literally to fire and wire neuro pathways in the brain, neuroreceptors to wire together, it takes a lot of effort. But it creates a new option in your response. It creates a new trajectory for your life. And I feel this is part of the trail that you're blazing, is this new creation of the self and this new life that is being born, as the Fool is the first card in the tarot. And it is actually 0 point energy. It's the number 0. So it is this kind of void space with all of the options before it. We start to take action with the Magician card that comes after it. So you're kind of still in that void space, or the absence of choice, and surveying and looking at all of the options, all of the things that you could create, all of the directions you could go, all of the things you could think. And then from that, choosing something, and you can't really choose wrong. You just need to choose. And I feel like maybe that's where the pressure of that fire comes in. It's like it's kind of driving you in a direction to help to not force you, but encourage you to make a decision. Especially if you've been kind of waffling on a decision for a while. Or if you've been struggling to recreate yourself, to rebuild yourself in some way, or to make a way forward. Now I'm seeing something about a timetable, and I'm being shown like a calendar. And there's something about planning for the future that's coming up now as well. Now the Fool doesn't necessarily plan for the future. The Fool energy itself, archetypally, is more concerned with the now. It's more concerned with the options. It's more concerned with just kind of like taking a risk. And in some cases, that's better to do than planning. In other cases, it's not. So you will have to use discernment here. But there's something about a purposeful or intentional plan that can help you to make a way forward. So maybe it's a bit of both. It's using your determination to do something outside of your natural wheelhouse or outside of your comfort zone and taking that bit of a risk into the unknown, while at the same time creating a certain compatibility and the resources, having the tools that you need through some level of planning to be in support of that new direction that you're taking. Fool energy is very new and open-minded, so take on that open-minded beginner mindset type of a role, because it can, again, help you to forge and to learn new things, which then creates new neural pathways for you. So being in the role or the mentality of the student is very, very helpful for you, and it may help you to create a plan and to forge that pathway forward. And again, I'm being shown the animals, and I'm being told that the fairy guides that work with you show up specifically in animal forms. And it's kind of like shape-shifting is what I'm being shown. So it's like the animals shape-shift because they are fairy guides. And so they will show up in many different forms. Rabbits and mice, I'm being shown. Cats and dogs, very commonplace, mundane animals too. It's not always like the wild woodland creatures. Sometimes it's the animals that we have around us in urban areas. Raccoons, rats even. It's like the movie Enchanted, when she goes to the city and she sings as a princess for the animals to come help her clean. And instead of mice and rabbits and birds, she gets flies and, and rats and pigeons. Sometimes you got to work with what's there, and spirit will do the same. Something about the angels and the angels flying I'm hearing, and I'm being shown feathers. And something about feathered creatures or finding feathers on your path. Indicators of direction, and I'm being shown the feather on the ground spinning around, and now it's becoming the pointer on a compass wheel. So something about these feathers or these synchronicities or these messages from spirit, the spirit realm, your animal guides, your fairy guides, your angelic guides, coming through to help point you in the direction. Because you are navigating something here, group 3. You're navigating your potential. With the Fool card, it's like the world is your oyster, and you really have unlimited options and potential here, but that can sometimes be overwhelming. And I think that's why there's some need for a semblance of a plan. It doesn't have to be fully worked through, but it has to be in support of what you do decide to do or the direction you're currently taking action in. And there's always a way back. You can retrace your steps if you need to. If you hit a dead end, that's okay. There's no predetermined pathways here other than the ones that you've already traveled, so you can always turn around and create a new one or branch off in some way. I'm being brought back to the brain again and neural receptors and like a brain on fire. There could be an importance here of skill building or learning new skills in regard to calming down your brain or allowing it sort of like an alternate pathway so that your mind can settle and to encourage it to create. A message is coming through about stagnancy or stagnation, feeling stuck in possibility paralysis, or possibly even feeling emotionally or mentally overwhelmed. There's a message here for you to begin taking very small incremental steps forward and to follow the guidance that you receive in the direction that you start moving in, and you may be able to pivot there. But there's a need for movement, because standing still just becomes even more paralyzing. So you're not meant to stand still for too long, because there's a need for change here. There is a need for change, a fresh start, a new beginning, a new template, a new way of thinking, a new thing that you're learning that helps to shift things in this way. Very, very important for you right now. And again, I'm being brought back to that message about the open mindset. So being open to the world around you, different perspectives, different options. Don't close your mind to any option. Really think with the openness of the Fool, which is like a child. Anything is possible. No magical thinking is discounted for reality. So being open, not naive as the Fool can sometimes be intentional with this, but be open to perhaps ways of thinking or ways of doing things or options that you didn't consider before because you thought them unrealistic. There's a potential here that you are meant to tap into and build as you continue to walk along, or to create this path once you've decided on it, or once you've continued along it. Once again, this is a pathway that has not been forged before. It's not been created. And so you may have to do some level of trial and error, especially if you're the first one that's following it, or if you don't have an example from someone else who has done this or has set this example for you. It's like you will have to kind of learn on your own through a bit of, trial and error. And error comes with failure. And again, I want to reiterate to you that Spirit and the messengers of the fairy realm are here to help you to understand that failure is part of this process, and that to continue building and to continue finding your way, you must learn to be undeterred by those roadblocks. You must remain curious and open to the fantasy of life. This is what keeps you moving forward and keeps your spirit renewed and refreshed, so that potential can truly be accomplished and achieved in this lifetime. So take your time, but don't dilly-dally. There is a difference, and I'm being called to mention that. And then I'm hearing proof is in the pudding. So there's something about you putting energy into these particular pathways that over time you will prove to yourself and potentially even to others, although I don't think that that's the intention here, but you will be able to show or to prove that this pathway works because you have tested it and it has proved effective, or you will be a living example. I'm hearing a walking example of the efficacy of this particular pathway, whatever it is. And I'm hearing time will tell. And again, I'm hearing trial and error. So allow yourself the time that it takes to test and to learn from those tests and to apply that knowledge, that skill, until it eventually becomes wisdom. Because the Fool card moves into the World card at the end of its journey and cycles back around to the Fool. So you move through all of the stages of development, and eventually you come back to the beginning stage again. And it continues infinitely like that. So keeping that open-minded perspective is going to be what's helpful in every single step along this path and every single phase in this particular journey. I want to wish you all the best here, group number 3, on this journey and what you're creating. You must know that you are very blessed with this potential. I know myself included, sometimes it can feel overwhelming to have and be told that you have so much potential, but the spirits of the fairies are surrounding you, and they want you to know that when you embrace this with curiosity, with fun, with playfulness, with the innocence of a child, that potential becomes opportunity for creation rather than something that feels like an obligation. So just a reminder to you of that as well. I love you. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to close out the reading today. Thank you to the fairy messengers that have come through to transmit and relay this message to you in divine timing for your greatest and highest good. May you be blessed along this path, the one that has less travelers on it. Much love. Bye, guys.